the child shows inattention, it shows some hyperactivity, impulsivity, and it is showing some overactive behaviors. Yes,
Okay.
Harshita.
Ma'am, what are the different kinds of ADHD? Hello.
Harshita, according to DSM-5, and furthermore, that hyperactivity disorder is basically of three types. DSM-5 says that it is predominantly hyperactivity presentation, where the child is showing a hyperactive behavior. Then there is predominantly inattentive presentation, where the child is showing inattention type of a behavior. And then the third type is inclusive of both the behaviors, means it's a common presentation where it is a combined presentation where both hyperactivity as well as inattentive behavior is shown by the child. And
Okay.
yes, Harshita.
Ma'am, what makes an ADHD child different from other children?
That's a very nice question you have asked, Harshita. And basically, this ADHD children are not different in terms of as they are away from normal, nothing like that. These are those children who are struggling with seven core executive dysfunctions as such, basically. And telling about that they are basically not able to function having self-awareness. They are not able to have inhibition actions. Their working memory is not working, and they are not able to self-regulate themselves emotionally. Then there are motivational problems which they are having. They are not able to self-motivate themselves. There is a problem of planning things. There is a problem of organizing things. There is a problem in problem solving itself. And if you see that, if you go and see some statistical data, this first type of disorder, which is attention deficit disorder, where 40% of ADHD children, they might be showing it, and they might be facing academic impairments, where they are not able to go ahead in their academic, and their development is little impaired. Then there are hyperactivity ADHD children, which are among 10% of them. And this is basically shown in young children, and basically those primary going children, and they show behavioral impairments. Then there are common presentation type of children, ADHD children, where they are showing both hyperactivity as well as inattention. So there are 50% of ADHD children who are showing this type of behavior, and they are they are having impairments in academic as well as their behavioral part. And basically what happens in ADHD children, they are having a problem of executive functioning. Now this problem of executive functioning is because their prefrontal cortex, which is having less development, means it is a neurodevelopmental disease, you can call. And as their frontal cortex is not working efficiently or not working properly, so it is not coordinating with other parts of the brain, like the cerebrum, like the um, other parts of the brain. And so whatever performances are done by these parts of the brain, the frontal cortex is not coordinating. So the inhibition part, the motivation part, and whatever is taken care by frontal cortex, it is not at all being done. So the child is facing problem in working memory, inhibition, and all these things like that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what should a parent know about ADHD child?
Basically, a parent should understand that if they are having an ADHD child, and they should understand that it is a performance disorder. It is not at all a knowledge disorder, because the child is having a lot of knowledge. Actually, the child is an intelligent child. It is, you can say that a child who is ADHD maybe is a gifted child or a very extraordinary child, but because his frontal cortex is not working properly. So the frontal cortex, which is actually making us able to use the knowledge whatever we are acquiring, all the our back portion of the brain is acquiring knowledge, but as frontal cortex is not working, they cannot use their knowledge. They don't know how to use their knowledge. So basically the child is intelligent, but they cannot use the knowledge whatever they are getting. They cannot learn from experiences. They are not future sighted. They cannot see their future very clearly, or actually they are very highly gifted child who think differently. You can say that they are not cognitive deficient, they are cognitively different children. This is what the
Yeah.
parents should know, that they have to understand that the child which is there with them, which is an extraordinary child, and they should have a different attitude with them. They have to act differently, they have to plan differently, and very most important thing is that they have to detect this early, very early in life, so that they can have or maintain this disease properly.
Okay.
Yes, Arshita.
So, how to know that that one child has a ADHD?
Like there are many behavioral symptoms which a child will be showing, and we have many checklists available. They are available free online also. So if any parent is having sees that the child is very hyperactive, is running around, he is not paying attention, not listening, some 4 5 types of a characteristic if the child is showing and the parent is noticing, so they can go on and go ahead with this checklist. There are checklists for the parents, there are checklists for the teachers, because this ADHD is not only going to happen only in the childhood. It's not only a childhood disease. It can be present very much over there. If it is goes undetected in childhood, it will go to adolescent people. Then it might go to the adult also. No? So the older people might also be having
Yeah.
ADHD. So we have to understand. We have to find out whether it is there. So we should use these checklists. Then there are some diagnostic tools which are available with all the clinical psychologists. If you find that in the checklist and there are 5 6 symptoms which are being presented, so definitely you should consult a psychologist, or you should consult
Okay.
a clinical psychologist.
Yeah. And what are the challenges faced?
As it is a neurodevelopmental disorder, so the child is deficit in executive control, and executive control or executive function which is being done by the frontal cortex, it inhibits so many say functions of the child, and the development is not going proper. Then there are response inhibition, means a child, if he is doing something and you want him to stop, he will not be able to stop himself. Then there is a working memory problem. The child cannot hold anything in his brain, because there is no memory inside the brain. So the child has to, or the parent has to do a lot of planning, has to support the child in different way, which we will talk about when we are talking about interventions. There is a type of an intervention that way. Then there might be them, because these are two are not working, so there might be some deficit related functions, like there will be a delay in gratification. Then the processing speed, they cannot do things, 2 4 things at one go. They are not able to do it all. They cannot process anything very fast. And then there might be some behavioral symptoms which they might be showing. The attention span will be very short. They will be easily distracted. They can go and they might be doing one thing at a time, and immediately next second they might be doing something else. So they are easily distracted, and they might be, if they are a little bit frustrated, they might show a lot of impulsive behavior. Then hyperactivity might be one part of that also. So that is, these are the challenges basically faced by a simple child, and that shows him that he is a little bit in trouble.
Okay. So,
Yes.
what are the challenges faced by children?
And
Okay.
let's talk about this again in terms of all the three types we have discussed. So if it is an inattention type, most importantly, the child will be having a hard time paying attention to things, and he will be a daydreamer. He might be sitting and dreaming, and he seems to be not listening. The most common say complaint the mother might be having, he is not listening at all. Sunta hi nahi hai, they will be saying.
Yeah.
Then uh, the child will not be caring about any details, क्योंकि वो hold ही नहीं कर सकता, because his working memory is not there, तो वो hold ही नहीं कर सकता किसी भी चीज को. उसको। फिर वो केयरलेस मिस्टेक करेगा, आपको लगेगा कि जानबूझ के कर रहा है, पर वो जानबूझ के नहीं करता है, हो जाता है, he is not doing that but it's happening, then there is उसको डिफिकल्टी होती है इंस्ट्रक्शंस को फॉलो करने में। आपने एक के बाद एक 4 इंस्ट्रक्शन दे दिए, वो नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि उसमें एबिलिटी ही नहीं है कि वो उस इंस्ट्रक्शन को प्रोसेस कर पाए, स्पीडली उस पे काम कर पाए। फिर वो बहुत सारी चीजें घुमाते जाएगा, स्कूल जाएगा तो कुछ ना कुछ भूल के आ जाएगा या गुम जाएंगी उससे चीजें, तो थोड़ा डिसऑर्गेनाइज, वो कोई भी चीज ऑर्गेनाइज लगेगा आपको, उसका रूम हमेशा डिसऑर्गेनाइज दिखेगा, चीजें फैली हुई लगेंगी, बस्ते में चीज मिलेगी नहीं उसके, राइट, फॉरगेटफुल होगा, भूल जाएगा आसानी से चीजों को, और बहुत सारी चीजें जिसमें बहुत सारा मेंटल एफर्ट लगाना होगा तो वो उसको नहीं करना चाहेगा, वो उसको अवॉइड करेगा। फिर यदि हम दूसरे टाइप में आए जिसमें हाइपर एक्टिविटी और इम्पल्सिविटी दोनों तरह के सिम्टम्स दिख रहे हैं बच्चों में, तो आपने देखा होगा छोटे बच्चे में भी है तो वो चारों तरफ भागता रहेगा, दौड़ता रहेगा, वो मूव करता है, कोई मोटर लग गई है और वो बस दौड़ रहा है, रुक ही नहीं सकता, बेचारे में इनहिबिशन क्योंकि है नहीं तो वो रोक ही नहीं सकते आपको, बैठेगा नहीं वो एक जगह पे, पूरे समय वो भागता है और फिर और यदि बैठेगा भी तो वो एक 2 सेकंड से ज्यादा सीट पे बैठे नहीं सकेगा। तो जब स्कूल जाएगा तो ऑब्वियसली वो सीट पे नहीं बैठेगा, तो कंप्लेंट सबसे ज्यादा टीचर को यही रहती है कि वो बैठता ही नहीं है। फिर बहुत टॉकेटिव होंगे, लगातार बोलते जाएंगे, बिना सोचे समझे बोलते जाएंगे, उनको कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस की कोई चिंता नहीं, बस बोलते ही जाएंगे। फिर स्विम करेंगे, फिजिट करेंगे, जंप करेंगे, कूदेंगे, पैर पटकेंगे, सो दे विल बी डिस्टर्बिंग द क्लास। और यदि तीसरे टाइप के हम डिसऑर्डर होता है तो उनको भी फिर चैलेंज होता है, बोथ टाइप का है तो फिर अब वो हाइपर एक्टिव भी है, इम्पल्सिव भी है और इनअटेंटिव भी है, तो फ्रिक्वेंटली वो एक्ट करेगा, बिना सोचे समझे बोलेगा, उसको अपनी यदि लाइन में खड़ा हुआ तो अपनी टर्न का इंतजार करना उसके लिए बहुत मुश्किल होगा, वो वेट ही नहीं कर सकता, उसको प्रॉब्लम होती है। फिर यदि वो मान लीजिए क्लास में कुछ चल रहा है तो आंसर क्वेश्चन खत्म होने के पहले ही आंसर दे देगा, खुद के जल्दी जल्दी सोचेगा कि मैं पहले आंसर दे दूं, इंटरप्ट करेगा क्लास को, बात करना एंड सबसे वो एमलेसली रन कर सकता है, बिना देखे यदि वो ट्रैफिक में सड़क पे दौड़ रहा है तो बिना ट्रैफिक का ध्यान दे वो दौड़ लगा जाएगा, तो ये चैलेंजिंग हो जाता है बहुत बार इस तरह का बिहेवियर बच्चों का।
Okay. So this was very informative. So what are the challenges faced by parents?
अब यदि आप देख रहे हैं कि बच्चा इतने सारे बिहेवियरल डिसऑर्डर्स शो कर रहा है, हाइपर एक्टिव है, इम्पल्सिव है और इनअटेंटिव है, सुन नहीं रहा है, so parents they really have a hard time sometimes dealing with them because जब वो सुन नहीं रहा है तो आप उससे बोल रहे हैं तो काम करेगा नहीं और आपको फिर प्रॉब्लम होगी, आप माँ सोचेगी कि क्यों ऐसा कर रहा है। हाइपर एक्टिविटी पूरे टाइम दौड़ रहा भाग रहा है तो पेरेंट्स को भी उसका ध्यान रखना कि वो गिर ना जाए, उसकी सेफ्टी का ध्यान रखना, पूरे टाइम भागते दौड़ते तो वो भी भागते दौड़ते रहते हैं, they're full time on toes, parents are always on toes, the house is always disorganized, okay, and they are overworked, parents are always overworked, so this physical challenge is definitely there, and along with these physical challenges then there are some mental challenges because of all this, parents might be frustrated, basically the mother will be very frustrated, she might be going through a depression portion, then there might be some social stigmas also, if it is labeled as an ADHD child, then the problems will be there, that the parent will not be feeling comfortable, then the house will be noisy, हमेशा दौड़ते भागते बच्चे हैं तो चिल्ला रहे हैं, सामान फेंक रहे हैं, डिसऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं, तो हमेशा नॉइजी, तो पीस नहीं है उनके पास, और इन सब के कारण एक इमोशनल टर्मोइल की सिचुएशन बनती है पेरेंट्स के सामने, सो दे हैव अ हार्ड टाइम व्हिच दे हैव टू